Hello, and welcome to Maybe I Can, exploring possibilities one sprinkle at a time. If you've ever found yourself asking, is this all there is to life? Then you're in the right place. I'm Debbie, author, speaker, entrepreneur, and coach. And every Tuesday, I'm here to share a sprinkle of hope and inspiration. Together, we'll uncover the more joy, more fulfillment, more prosperity, more fun. We'll share stories of transformation, actionable tips, and that little nudge you need to take the next step. So let's embark on this journey of discovery and say, maybe I can, to a life filled with more. Ready to find out? Let's get started. The Maybe I Can show starts now. Well, hello there, and welcome to the Maybe I Can podcast. I'm your host, Debbie Weiss, and I so appreciate you being here and listening. I know just how many thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions, who knows how many podcasts there are out there, right? Or books or everything that you can listen to. So I really appreciate you landing on this show. And before I bring my guest on today, I have an opportunity for you to be a part of my launch team. And no, I'm not going into space. I'm not an astronaut, nothing like that. It is my book launch team, or do I say books plural? Because November 11th, I have two books coming out, even though they do go hand in hand. The first is The Sprinkle Effect, a guide to creating a more colorful and fulfilling life. And the second is the accompanying workbook. You don't have to buy both together. It's very nice to have both if you ask me. That's why I created them. But being part of the launch team, here is what I would be asking. I would give you the digital copy of both a few weeks before they came out. So let's say mid-October, you would get them and have a few weeks to read them on your own and prepare an honest review. I am not asking you to lie. I don't want that. Please write an honest review. And then when the book actually launches, in order to leave a verified review, you have to actually buy the books. So I then ask you for 99 cents each to buy the books, post your review on Amazon, and if you so choose, share on social media about both the books. I'd give you all that information. So you just have to copy, paste, click, that kind of thing. And then in return, you would get your choice of two different prizes. I like to call them prizes instead of gifts. So the first is your choice of a mug that have different sprinkles on them. I don't have it in front of me. I think there's like, I don't know how many. Let's say 3 to 5 different mugs. So this is, if you're watching, and now it probably looks back. Does it look backwards to you, Chris? I don't know.
I think it's okay.
This is a sprinkle of courage.
No, it's good. It's perfect.
Oh, okay, good. All right, this is a sprinkle of courage, a 15-ounce mug, or you can actually get the workbook in a printed workbook because, printing out however many, I think the workbook's 160 pages. Who wants to print out 160 pages? So I would send you that bound real book. So if you're interested, please, in the show notes, the information will be there to sign up. And if you don't see it there, then just shoot me an email at debbie@debbierweiss.com and I will send you the link. So thank you in advance. It's fun. You're going to read the books anyway, so you might as well get a little prize for doing it and only have to pay $2 for 2 books. All right. Now, without any further ado, you know what? You're my first repeat guest. So I am bringing back my friend Chris Rush, who was on the show 2 episodes ago, episode 93. So if you haven't listened to that, listen to that first because you will hear her whole backstory that we're not going to repeat again here, but she is quite an inspiration. And that's why I asked her to come back because we kind of got halfway through, like her major, I would say, struggle of being paralyzed and told that there was a possibility she would never walk again to, walking months later because she defies all odds. And that's why I asked her to come back, because we kind of got to the part where she overcame her, I don't want to overcame her struggles, but got her legs back, even though she couldn't go to college when she anticipated. She went a year later, wound up meeting her wonderful husband and starting a life together. And she and I met when actually our oldest was in first grade, and her middle child, my youngest, were preschoolers. And you can't really tell from the screen anyway, but or at least I was almost 5'7". Now I'm almost 5'6". But at the time I was 5'7". How tall are you? 4'10" or 11?
Hey now, come on. I was 5 foot.
Oh, you
I'll go
were?
with you. I'll go with you on that. I was 5 foot when we met.
Okay.
And
All right.
now I'm
So,
in the
all right.
fours. I'm in the
Okay. So
fours
let's
now.
say 7 inches difference.
There you go.
I don't want to say how many pounds difference
Well,
because a lot. And I can't think, we looked like complete opposites. And honestly, if you looked at us, you would think like I was the big, strong one because physically I was big and she would be the timid one. But it's just the opposite because she blew me away with her, just her whole personality and
be nice. Be nice.
no, I'm not thinking of
No,
I'm not being nice.
Yes.
Just like, wow. What impressed me the most was that I don't want to say, and you're going to speak to this, that you didn't care what other people thought of you. But for me, I would say that I've always been a people pleaser. I've grown up being judged or being uncomfortable and feeling unworthy because I felt judged my whole life. So I didn't want to do anything to upset the apple cart, to make people not like me, to, draw attention to myself. Where not that you were purposely trying to upset anybody, but you never let that stop you. You always stuck to your convictions.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
let's just talk a little bit. I mean, how you dealt with your kids and school and the other parents and the administrators and, all coaches and all the people.
Yeah. Yeah. I think if we're picking up from, that almost like I feel like you were getting me to that, like that new beginning, right? Like I was a certain person before and kind of had to figure out how to still be that person, but in a new way. And when I got to college, I realized that physicality and the strengths that I had physically, which I thought were the reasons that gave me my strength. And I always assumed because I was successful in all these physical ways, that that's just kind of what defined me. And, then I got hurt and all those things went away. So I had to really figure out how I was going to figure out how to be an academic or a professional or hopefully a wife, and hopefully a mother one day. I had no idea if those things were possible, but I think I'd mentioned in the last podcast about the once, my baby steps that I would kind of set small goals for myself.
Yep.
And if I reflect back on that, I really tried not to let myself get ahead of myself. And I just get to college, I wasn't at college. I missed a whole year, get to college. And I just remember being in a state of mind of, am I going to be able to walk the campus? Am I going to be able to get from my dorm to my classrooms in time or from one class to another, like all these unknowns. And I just had to keep going backwards and saying, come this far, I'll figure it out. I've come this far, I'll figure it out. And I just feel like with every step of it, that's the thing I told myself with college, with forging relationships in college, in this body. This is what people see now. The first thing they see now when they meet me is that I have a significant limp. And that's people's first impressions. If I'm standing still or sitting down, probably, Deb, similar to when you met me, there is an energy. I do have this crazy little spunk and, definitely a personality to myself that some can take and some can leave. But definitely I can understand where people would see that, whether I'm sitting or standing. But, once I start moving and I'm up and I'm traveling with people, it's a quick look like, whoa. So it's always there with me. So I think for me, I decided to I can I still do it today. I'm teaching now after many, many, many years of not since 2001. This year's my first year back in the classroom as a teacher assistant. And I'm in a building and in a school with people who don't know me at all, at all. And so this is their first time seeing me. And I am seeing these children look at me and tilt their head, and other teachers. And just yesterday, one of the professionals who worked there was walking next to me and looked at me and said, "Are you limping?" And it's those moments where I'm reminded every time I look, and I have to decide still after, since I was 18, 30 some years, I don't even know how many years it's been later, I still have to, in that moment, tell myself, "You're good." I have to say it to myself. I said it to myself 2 or 3 times yesterday, Deb. So I'm as maybe easy as I make it look, or I have to tell myself, "You're good. You're good, Chris. You're good." So I
Does it
just feel
bother
that
you when people ask? I mean, do you just readily share what happened, I assume?
I don't share.
Oh,
Either I either hope they ask, or I hope they look and then look past.
mm,
Um, that's always my hope. If they ask, I love to share. And it's a quick, "Oh no, I was, injured at 18 and I have this limp to thank for it," or left over
yeah,
from it. Or it's very quick. I don't need to go into it with people, I don't think, unless it's in a situation where it presents that I should.
yeah,
But I prefer people to ask. But, in this class that I'm in, not one kid has asked me yet. And the more days I come in, the less I see them looking. And so that is what I know from my life. The longer I spend with people, the less they see it and the more they see me. And
right.
so from the lifetime experience of it that I've had with it, I've been grateful that I've been able to hold on to those things. So then in the moments, like you said, does it bother you when people do look and stare and pass judgment? And that does happen. Um, I immediately remind myself of how many times and how many more people I've walked past that didn't. So it's, for me, it's just that mindset of reminding myself of the majority of good that I'm getting from people, as opposed to the one or two that just, for whatever reason, don't have it in them to recognize that their reaction or their behavior or their judgment um, is their issue, not mine. Yeah. And I guess going back to what you said, it kind of has been with me even before my injury, that
Yeah,
it,
well, exactly,
yeah,
exactly. And
yeah, yeah,
so let's fast forward to you have your kids, you have three children,
yep,
and you've just been, like I said, just a staunch supporter and very vocal, and at times where other people would not be vocal. Was
right.
that difficult? Is that just who you are? What do you say to those of us like me who just were afraid to speak up or, you
Yeah,
know, shake things up?
yeah. I would say that there's just a part of me that always had that little voice inside that just didn't want to not would not be not heard, stifled, since I was very, very young. I remember my grandmom, uh, very staunch Irish Catholic woman, not the most pleasant, not the most loving, not the most lovable, just very strict and hard. And she was really tough on my mom, really, really tough on my mom. And, I just remember being very little and feeling bad for my mom. And I might have been 5 or 6 at the oldest, and standing in my grandma's house and her disrespecting and yelling at my mom for being late. And I just stood up to my grandma. I yelled at her and I said, "Don't talk to my mom." I don't know who I think I am, but I remember that moment very vividly. And then there's moments throughout my life where I remember just, my brother. I remember being on the playground with my brother, and he was quiet and he was not this typical, football, rough and tumble guy. He was quiet, he was respectful, he was kind, he was well liked. But he just, didn't conform to the typical stereotypical boy mode that others expected him to. And I remember sticking up for him. He didn't ask me for that, but I just stuck up for him because it was what I felt needed to be said. And throughout my life, and you've been with me in my adult life where you've seen me do that. And it's always in a place, it doesn't even have to be for my own children. It's been for other children. I've coached, I've been on different platforms and boards and members of clubs and teams. And if I don't like what I'm seeing and I feel like it's um, being hurting others, or putting others at a disadvantage, or not recognizing, um, I I'm going to have to point it out. I've done it with our high school during COVID when I felt that our high school was sleeping on some things that potentially could be being done, even with the restrictions. And I didn't think it was right or fair for the kids. I felt like they were really putting their best feet forward during a really, really tough time. And they didn't have life experiences, and they didn't have, you know, um, the education and the background of all of it. And they were really stepping up. And I really felt our high school, as good as they were doing, could have been doing better. And I went to a board meeting and I spoke. I've spoken probably in the course of my 3 years, 3 children's educational careers, maybe at 5 board meetings total. But those 5 board meetings, it mattered to me, and they mattered. So when it matters, you're going to hear me. And
And it's not just at board meetings. And,
no.
I'm sure you remember this, but I don't know. When Sam, my oldest, was 10, I made the decision to pull him out of school because he was talking about killing himself.
Hmm?
And I don't remember I don't remember who I told or how you found out, but I remember you calling me and saying, like, we have to do something. We have to do something. We have to have, the kids have to give him a celebration. Do you remember that?
I do.
And I was like, okay, okay.
Of course I do. That's my Sam. Yep.
Um, and
Yeah,
what
I do.
about,
Yeah,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, when you say that, like, all these little moments come to mind, when there was, there was something going on. I can't remember the details, but I wanted him to have a voice. I wanted him to have a role, a place. And I came up with the idea, and they were like, "No, he can't." And I came up with the idea. I said, "Well, can he be the MC? Like,
Oh, yeah.
there is a solution. We can find a place for him." And I said, "Maybe we can make him the MC. He's great on stage. He's got a beautiful speaking voice. He's not shy, And they knocked that down. They
Yeah,
didn't want
I
to take the
remember.
risk. They didn't, but so I could, yes, there are
It was the
lots of
talent
little
show.
moments. The talent show. Yes, yes.
And yeah,
There were
in
lots
sixth
of
grade
moments.
or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, doesn't have to be my kid. More
No,
more often than not, it probably wasn't even my kids that I
that's,
was speaking up for, because, and of course I would of course speak up for my kids if they needed it, and I have.
yes.
But just in general, like, I just have this, like, I don't know, it definitely comes from within. I did it for my friend today with her cat. This is silly, but I said to her cat is injured and she's not sure what's wrong. She took it to the vet. They're like, "We're not sure what's wrong with it." They examined it, they charged her. And she's telling me today he's still having issues, still having issues. And I said, take a picture, send me, whatever." She sends me. Of course, there is a visible injury on the bottom of that little kitten's paw. And I said to her, this is unacceptable. You call them up right now. I said, or you get in the car and you drive there and you call on the way and you say, I'm bringing my cat in. You charged me $200. You told me you didn't know what was wrong. And I'm looking at my kitten's paw and there is a visible sore that you missed. Like, I just, it's a kitten, so I'm definitely, listen, if you're out there and you're listening and you need someone in your corner or you need inspiration to get the gumption to go take care of it. I'm definitely your girl. I mean, I
That-
did it with my mom. If I could share quickly, my mom was very, very ill, neurological condition in a nursing home in the last 5 years of her life. And I basically helped care for her every day. And then COVID hit and they wouldn't let me in after I was there every day helping to care for her. And it took me 17 or 18 days to finally allow them to get me in, to let me in and get her out because they weren't even going to let me take her out. And I researched and did paperwork and reached out to lawyers and I did all these things. My brother helped me as well. And I finally was able to get her out of there at like 9 p.m. On the like 17 days later. And I got her out when no one could get anybody out. No one was allowed to get anyone out, other people's families. They weren't letting them out. I got her out. And it was a good thing because I would have probably been on the nightly news or, little lady pulling a lady through a window. Like I would have gotten her out.
Oh, I know.
And you're like, I know,
That's how
Claire.
you got her out because they knew you
And
would have gotten her out
literally, I
too.
think they were like, it's probably safer to let her out the front door because she's gonna pull her through the window. But I got her out, and it's another example. Like I don't no is not. I don't take no. Talent show, single ladies. I don't need to remind you. They said no to the song when the boys were, in third grade doing the single ladies song, and they told me no to the song, and I was on the phone with you before I walked out of the building saying we got to find a version of single ladies for our boys to do this song. I just don't know is not an answer. Solutions are answers. And I can help come up with a lot of different solutions if you just give me a chance. So, and for my friends too, I'm not afraid to say to my friends, this is what you need to do. I know you're not asking my advice, but here's what we're doing. So yeah, I
Now, let me
definitely,
ask you. So, in all those situations, and I think as well, either with friends, because some parents could get annoyed
yes,
by your level of how
intensity.
far you take it, and especially if they don't agree with what you're doing,
Had that
right?
too. Yep. I have had that too.
Yeah,
Exactly. And
but
and
you don't let that stop you. So, are you
not
not
usually.
concerned with what? I mean, are you not concerned with what other people think about you, or does it just
No, it
does
does. It does.
one
It
just
does. Yeah.
supersede the other?
Yeah. I feel like for me, that's a really good, I think if I had to generalize it, obviously each situation is different. And, the value of a child and what's happening to a child or to a person for me will always override if a person likes me or not. I'm willing, and I have lost friendships and relationships. Um, because I have prioritized what I feel is right for a child, human, or situation over a friendship. I will always prioritize what I feel in my gut and my heart is right. Um, but it does hurt me, and it does bother me. Like if I feel like people have judged me and judged me harshly and seen my energy and my investment and my intensity, and it's been received negatively. That's never, ever, ever been my intent to want that to happen, but it has happened more times than I am proud to say. I mean, I've had a lot of times that I've had reflections and wished I'd handled it different and wished I had, shoulda, coulda, woulda. And over my years of life, I've tried to improve and do things a little better and think a little more and handle things differently. But inevitably somebody's going to be mad at me, upset with me, disappointed in me, angry with me. And as I get older in life, I just have learned that you're not going to make everybody happy all the time. I just have to know inside the way I try to make peace with the decisions I make and the things I focus my energy on that may not be everybody's cup of tea is when I lay down at night and when I close my eyes at night, I really try to like recognize that my intent was never to hurt. or never to disappoint or never to upset, even if that winds up being inevitably what happens. Most of the time, I think most people who get to know me and know me, I know they see me and recognize that I'm definitely built different, and I come from a different upbringing than a lot of people, especially where I live now. It's definitely very, very different from how I grew up and where I grew up, and that part of who I am and how I grew up, it made me who I am, and I can't expect everybody to understand where I came from and to have the same perspective. And sometimes that's really hard. I think for me, the harder thing is with regard, not the judgment so much, but not really understanding where my energy and intensity comes from. It comes from a place of, a really rough beginning,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And look, I mean, I was just actually, I'm listening to the audiobook now, like proofing it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just listening to my own chapter on perspective and how we could be looking, listening, reading, whatever, the same thing, but none of us will ever see it the same way because we all have different upbringings, different perspectives, different, lenses that we put on because no two peoples are alike. We know, even our own siblings, right?
That's right. That's
I
exactly
mean,
right.
so it doesn't make a difference. Everybody's coming at it from a different angle.
Mm-hmm.
And, as far as shoulda, coulda, woulda, I don't think there's a person on the face of the earth who we don't all reflect and would handle something differently. I think the big thing to me and the big takeaway from me knowing you is that, you know what? You do what you feel is right in your heart. You're not going out to purposely try and upset anyone
No.
or hurt anyone else. But I think you're not going to let the fear of what other people are going to say, think, do, talk about you, stop you from doing what you feel is right.
Right.
And I think that, I mean, for me, that's something that can be difficult. It depends, I think, on, and we don't have time, but now that I'm talking, I'm thinking, okay, when it does come to certain things that I feel super strongly about, like Sam, certain things, I was not going to let anyone stop me. But then there's those other things, like maybe I was upset about, the play,
Right.
or whatever.
Right.
That's a different intensity. And those kinds of things, I think, would stop me from fear. And I think that the reason that I specifically had you on the show was just your determination, your lack of, I don't want to say lack of caring, just you are who you are unapologetically. And you're not going to let anyone or anything stop you. Again, not because you're purposely trying to harm anyone or make them uncomfortable. That has nothing to do with it. But I just think you're brave. I just think you're brave in every sense of the word. From the time that you were a little girl, you were brave as a child, brave in the face of incredible adversity. And as a parent and a woman, you just continue to be brave. And I'm inspired by you. So thank you for being my friend. And thank you for coming on the show and sharing a little bit of your inspiration. And to everyone listening, listen, be like Chris, stick to your guns.
Yes.
Don't be so worried about
Don't be
everything and everyone else. You know what's right and go out there and do it.
Trust yourself. Trust yourself. You've got
Trust
this.
yourself.
You've got
That's
this.
it. Well, thank you again for listening. Don't forget about the launch team in the show notes. And I can't wait to see you again next week. Thanks for spending part of your day with me here on Maybe I Can, exploring possibilities one sprinkle at a time. It's been great having you, and I hope you're leaving with a spark to light up your journey to more. Remember, every big change starts with a single maybe. If you're ready to kickstart that change but not sure where to begin, I've got just the thing for you. Head over to download my free guide, The One Critical Step to Kickstart Change, and take that all-important first step. Let's make those maybes into reality, one sprinkle at a time. Catch you next Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific with more stories, tips, and that extra push you might need. I'm Debbie saying goodbye for now, but always remember, maybe, just maybe, you can.